Took him a long time to get back in after a fine showing the first time in the boating competition. Why did you keep going around?
You know, there's a whole new cockpit. I didn't know where the fuel shutoff was, and we lost our low speed cutoff. It must have shorted out. I couldn't turn the motor off. And then when I found, I went, oh yeah, the fuel shutoff's under the seat, and I pulled it, and I went, whoops.
And nothing?
No, once I lost the charge down at the other end, I couldn't restart it. So
you had to run out of gas to stop?
Virtually, I ran it out of gas.
Well, you'll be ready for the next heat.
We'll be in it, Jim.
Fix the short, will you?
Okay.
Don, back to you.
Jim down at the Squire Shop camp. This is Jim Harvey. Boy, he's got a race right now. He's trying to, it looks like, trace possibly the shape of a motor mount and hopefully get that replaced in time for Heat 2B. He's got a challenge ahead of him. Look how badly damaged that is. Back to the Tosti Asti camp. The crew working on just about every angle of that boat right now. Look at the man in the white pants with the red shirt. That's the owner of the boat, Steve Woomer. Done a lot of auto racing. Of course, the owner of Competition Specialties out of Seattle, so he's familiar with working on little time.
Just leave whatever's good on. Whatever's good on.
That's Danny Walters shouting instructions, the acting crew chief for this boat. Very little time to work with to get in for 2A. In fact, here's one of the boats going out now, the Carl Yarling with Jerry Hopp aboard. This is the Executone, and here's the rundown for Heat 2A. The Budweiser, the Tosti Asti, the Renault with Milner Irvin, the Carl Yarling, and the Executone telephones. Here, of course, is the Tosti. The other boat's going out. You see how far behind the Tosti is, getting ready for 2A. And remember this boat back in 1981. It was the Tri-Cities. During testing, when John Walters aboard, suddenly the boat did a 1.5, severely injuring Walters, sending him to the hospital, but he returned to race again the next year. Here is that same boat. Hardly looks the same, doesn't it? With the new cowling, the new design there, and Steve Reynolds hopes to go out and gather some more points aboard the Tosti here in 2A. Chip Hanauer watching from the sidelines with his crewmen aboard the Atlas Van Lines here in the pits. And now from under the Madison Milton Bridge down the Ohio River, here they come now for Heat 2A. What a traffic jam with the Miss Renault in lane number 1, the Budweiser in lane 2, and look at the great start by Jim Kropfeld and the Budweiser. The beer boat in first place in lane number 2 as they come around the west turn. On the inside is the Miss Renault with Milner Irvin. The Tosti Asti in roughly third place as they go around the west turn. Acceleration on the part of those Griffin engines and the Budweiser. Look at Milner Irvin, though, coming up in lane number 1. In second place is the Miss Renault, challenging the Budweiser going down that long back chute here on the Ohio River. The Budweiser, Jim Kropfeld in first place. Third place goes to Tosti Asti and Steve Reynolds in the turbine-powered boat. Their backup boat, as a matter of fact, the Budweiser into the east turn with Jim Kropfeld out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He's in lane 2 with Milner Irvin still the inside position. He has the shortest route around the course here on this 2.5-mile course in Madison, Indiana. Here comes Milner Irvin on the inside in that beautiful yellow Staudinger designed and built boat. Coming down to complete lap number 1, the Budweiser and the Renault. Lap speed 110 miles per hour for the Budweiser, 109 for the Miss Renault. Tosti Asti in third place, speed 103.077. Back into the west turn. Allison-powered boat, that being the Renault, with Milner Irvin aboard. The Budweiser, Jim Kropfeld, staying safely to the outside. I would imagine those two are simply having a lot of fun right now. But look at the great job of turning by Milner Irvin. He's holding on to a slim lead as they go down the back straightaway here on the Ohio River. The Budweiser, the Miss Renault, Milner Irvin, and Jim Kropfeld having a ball going down the back chute. It looks like the Budweiser has a slight lead now as they go down towards the east turn and under the bridge one more time. The Budweiser in first place. On the left of your screen, the Tosti Asti in third place, but hard-charging George Johnson in the Executone telephone, moving up to overtake third place as they go into the turn. The Budweiser back in first place. The Griffin engines, you can hear them, a familiar sound, a fluttering, powerful sort of sound from the Griffin. On the inside, though, here comes Milner Irvin again in the Miss Renault. He's driving a sensational race. Milner Irvin, his second year in that boat, holding on to second place against the Bud. Second place again to Milner Irvin. Here's your battle for third and fourth place. Executone telephone on the inside, the Tosti Asti on the outside with Steve Reynolds. Again, back to the Budweiser coming out of the turn. You see the relationship between the first and second and third and fourth place boats. Jim Kropfeld holding on to a lead now against Milner Irvin and the Miss Renault. He lengthens that lead a bit as he accelerates down the back straightaway. Milner Irvin, an electrical contractor out of Coral Gables, Florida. He raced in race number 1 in '84 in front of many hometown fans down in Miami. Again, the battle for 3rd and 4th place. You've got George Johnson with great position on the inside, the shortest route around the course, but I would imagine a little more acceleration on the part of the Tosti. The Budweiser holding on to 1st place. The water seems to be a bit calmer now than it was in heats 1A and 1B. There's the relationship between 1st and 2nd place. The Budweiser in 1st. Speed 105.189 for the Budweiser. Again, a great battle for 3rd and 4th place. That being George Johnson, the former offshore racer for the Executone Telephones people, a part owner of that boat. Steve Reynolds on the outside, the Vietnam veteran, former helicopter pilot coming down the outside in that turbine boat. They're not going all that fast, 103 and 100 miles per hour as they battle for 3rd and 4th place. A great show, though, for the fans. The Budweiser coming down the back chute for the last time here in Heat 2A. Milner Irvin and the Miss Renault in 2nd place, the boat owned by Jerry Shadon out of Detroit, Michigan. And, of course, we go to Detroit next week. Here again is the battle for 3rd and 4th, and George Johnson overtaking the Tosti going down the back chute. He is now in 3rd place. In 4th place is the Tosti. The Budweiser clearly in front, in control, and he will take Heat 2A, 400 points for the Budweiser and Jim Crossbell. So the Budweiser picks up another 400 points. The Miss Renault 300. Executone Telephones, 3rd place. Tosti 4th. And the Miss Carl Yarling came in 5th place. And now down to the pits again with Jim Hendrick.
Let's catch a man who's had his fastest action of 1984 and quite a battle with the Bud, and for 2 laps it was like deck to deck, Milner.
Hey, Jim, it's fun when you can race like that. And of course, I trust Jim, and it's nice to race with somebody that you trust and can run with.
Side by side, you have to trust the other guy.
You really do. It's just too big a gamble to go out there unless you know what the other man's going to do. And I can, Jim's an expert at it. He knows what he's going to do, and I know what I'm going to do.
The Renault cab coming right along, you're getting more competitive.
Well, it's awfully rough out there, Jim. I think it's about as fast as I want to run, but we're making improvements.
All right, James, and I think I can speak for Jim when I say it is darn tough covering these races. Darn tough. We'll be back with Heat 2B in just a moment. Don Poyer along with Jim Hendrick, and again now, Heat 2B, the Atlas Van Lines with 400 points already. Light All-Star has withdrawn because of damage to the exhaust stack in that turbine engine. Chet's Music is in there, Squire Shop. They got to get a lot of points here to make the final and Speedy Printing. And here we are, our 4-boat heat. The Squire Shop, Mickey Riemann with an outstanding start, but look who's right next to him, and that, of course, Chip Hanauer, the 2-time defending national champion in his brand-new turbine-powered Atlas Van Line. Into the west turn, Riemann on the inside. On the outside is Chip Hanauer and the Atlas Van Lines. There you see American Speedy Printing going by, but my goodness, look at the acceleration on the part of this new turbine-powered engine. This really is the entering of a new era, the way these turbines are performing today. The Atlas Van Lines in 1st place, Squire Shop in 2nd place, into the east turn, under the Madison Milton Bridge and around the Apex Buoy, heading down the main straightaway now, trying to complete lap number 1. Chip Hanauer. He's approaching a record. Let's see what kind of time he has here. He is really steaming as he comes down the main straightaway. You can see the lead already that he has over the Squire Shop. Lap speed 128.479. That's a new record here for a competition lap on the Ohio River. 3rd place, American Speedy Printing. Hanauer now going into the west turn. Seems to just glide over those rough spots. That is one of the bad spots on this course. That boat right there, the Squire Shop, moving very well. He had a time, or a speed rather, of 121.9 on lap number 1, which is very respectable, but he's got a rocket in front of him. That being this boat, the Atlas Van Lines, in only its 2nd race ever. Brand new boat, missed the first 2 races in 1984. Came out to Evansville, set a national record in qualifying, but then was unable to really compete when it was time to go racing on Sunday. But today they are making amends. Look at the Squire Shop flying again. They said they tried to tone it down a little earlier, but they're still bouncing around pretty badly. Again, back to the Atlas van line. Under the bridge, Chip Hanauer in total control here in Heat 2B in the Indiana Governor's Cup on the Ohio River. Hanauer, lap speed 120.032 miles per hour. He's slowed down considerably. Might as well. He's got a huge lead over the Squire Shop and Mickey Riemann. Riemann, of course, needing more points, trying to get into the final heat. If he finishes in second place here, it is very unlikely that Mickey Riemann will be able to get into the final with that boat. American Speedy Printing and Ron Snyder. Been a quiet day for Ron. Of course, it's the host boat, and they would like nothing better than to perform well today in front of their host fans. The city of Madison owning the American Speedy Printing boat, formerly the Miss Madison. Second place, the Squire Shop and Mickey Riemann with the Merlin engine powering down the back chute. Chip Hanauer, that's what he's looking at as he goes into the turn. You can hear that turbine engine howling in the background. Chip really had to go to school with owner, designer, and builder of this boat, Jim Lucero. He had to learn how to work the turbine engine. The acceleration is different. The handling is different. It doesn't accelerate quite as quickly as a normal piston engine. So he had a lot of adjustments to make in this new boat for 1984. Second place boat, the Squire Shop and Mickey Riemann. His first year in this particular hull after a 6.5-year layoff. And now on his final lap is Chip Hanauer going down the back chute for the final time before he goes into the final heat. And of course that great matchup against the Budweiser and Jim Cropwell. That's how big a lead he has over the American Speedy Printing and Ron Snyder. Remember, he did not finish in his first heat today. Second place, Mickey Riemann in the Squire Shop, formerly the Atlas van lines. A very, very good boat. Again, still riding lightly, very lightly, going down the back chute. But this is the boat to watch. This is the boat that may be leading the hydroplane racing industry into a new era. The turbine-powered Atlas van line, very low in profile, and as you see, the checkered flag waiting for Chip Hanauer to pick up his second 400 points of the day. Chip Hanauer and the Atlas van line, first place in Heat 2B. Atlas Van Lines has made it a perfect day. A second 400 points. Union Bay Squire Shop with a second place here in Heat 2B. American Speedy Printing in third. And Chet's Music at 169. So here's how the final shapes up. That ever-present, that wonderful battle now between the Atlas Van Lines and the Budweiser. The Renault in the hunt. Tosti Osti with Steve Reynolds and the Miss Carla Yarling. That'll do it for the final coming up here at the Indiana Governor's Cup. The U-40, driven by Scott Pierce, was going around the west turn when suddenly the skid fin and the left sponson caught, and it hooked, spinning around 180 degrees. You see the stern of the boat there. Scotty Pierce was thrown from the boat, suffering a fractured right arm and several bumps and bruises, but he'll be all right. We'll return to more racing in just a moment.
Jim, can I bother you just a second for our network television? Listen, you have to be pretty satisfied. That boat's really shown them the short way around the course.
Well, yeah, we've had a couple of really good runs. The water conditions have been pretty good in our heats, and we've been fortunate enough to break out in front, and Chip's doing a good job just staying out of trouble. He's running the boat in good, clean water and letting it do its best.
Okay, any strategy now for the final event?
Well, of course, we're going to have to run against the Budweiser, which, of course, is a top boat in the fleet, and we haven't run against them yet. We know that they've got good straightaway speed. They get through the slop well. I would expect that we'll probably run on the outside of them. We want to stay out of trouble.
Okay, thank you very much. Speaking of the Budweiser right now, as we approach the final heat, our partner Don Poyer is down there with Bernie Little. Don?
Jim, I'm over at the Budweiser camp, and let's see if I can get Bernie Little, the owner here. Bernie, can we bother you for a second?
Yes, sir.
Bernie, Jim Lucero says that he still feels the Budweiser is the boat to beat in the final.
Well, I hope he's right. Miss Budweiser will be out there running. We run for first place always, and we you know, that's just the way we are. There's some awful good boats that are not going to be in this final heat that had mechanical problems, but Miss Budweiser will be there for the checker flag if at all possible.
This makes the start incredibly important for you, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We just put in a new engine, and we have no excuses if we don't win.
All right, let's go over to the Tosti Osti camp now. Steve Reynolds along with Jim Hendrick.
Okay, Don, I've got both Danny Walters, the crew chief, and the driver, Steve Reynolds, with me right now. They're talking. Let me see if I can interrupt. Excuse me, Steve, can I interrupt just a second? What are you guys talking about?
We're talking about the braking system. If you haven't noticed, you know, that the brake hasn't held, and I feel so sorry for Danny because it gets started and the boat takes off and he's madly grabbing the cable and trying to jump off. I'm afraid one of these times I'm going to come around the first turn. He's still going to be there.
Yeah. Is he right, Dan?
Well, no, I'll hop off before that.
And coming up, the first Atlas Van Lines Budweiser encounter of 1984. Hanauer against Kropfeld. Coming up in Madison. Here's the lineup now for the climax of today's racing, the final heat. The Atlas Van Lines and the Budweiser with 800 apiece, followed by the Renault, the Tosti Asti with Steve Reynolds, and the Carl Yarlich with 352 points. The officials for today's racing. Mr. Paul McKee is the chief referee, and here are the gentlemen working with him. In the helicopter, Mike Noonan, Fred Alder, the pit boss, and the driver's rep, Gene Whip. Also in the turns, Bob Newman, Bill Noonan, and Jack Meyer, and Lee Sheenan assisting on the stand. And our 5-boat final is about to begin as they come underneath the Madison-Milton Bridge. Here we come with the final of the day. You see the Tosti Asti, the Miss Renault on the inside. There's the Carl Yarlich, but where's the Atlas and the Budweiser? They're way back for the start. Heading for the west turn, there comes the blue boat, the Atlas Van Lines, and on the outside, the Budweiser. You can hear the Griffin engine rumble as they go into that west turn. Let's see how they shape up coming out of the turn now. The first turn here on lap number 1 of the final. The Budweiser coming out first, but on the inside, here comes the Atlas Van Lines with Chip Hanauer, the turbine-powered brand new boat, going deck to deck with the Budweiser. The Bud, the Atlas on top going down the back chute. Look at the acceleration by that turbine-powered brand new boat built and designed by Jim Lucero. The Atlas Van Lines, first place, second place to the Budweiser, but look at Jim Kropfeld coming around on the outside. The water flying, more than 4 tons of water coming up from the skid plate of those rooster tails. Great job of cornering, however, by Chip Hanauer and that very, very light and very powerful turbine-powered Atlas Van Lines. Look at the speed of this, the new Atlas Van Lines. Let's check his speed. It is 129.328, a new course record, beating this boat's old record of 128.205 miles per hour in competition. The Budweiser, Jim Kropfeld in second place. The Atlas Van Lines literally running away from the field in this new boat. Chip Hanauer, he has never won here at Madison, Indiana, would like nothing better than to win the Indiana Governor's Cup, and he's in good shape to do so now. Remember now, Jim Kropfeld talked about trying to push the Atlas Van Lines, possibly forcing it to break. We'll see if that happens, but right now, good race here now for second, check that, third and fourth place between the Tosti Asti and the Renault. But Chip Hanauer, smooth sailing as he goes down the backstretch, headed under the bridge, and will come around the east turn. The Budweiser in second place, and in control right now of that spot. Could pick up another 300 points, and in fact would move in to the number 1 spot for the national point standing if he can get a second place today. Little rough and tumble there for the Atlas Van Lines coming around that east turn, but boy, that boat rides so exceptionally well over these choppy waters on the Ohio River. The Atlas Van Lines, Chip Hanauer, his first possible victory right in front of him now in the Indiana Governor's Cup, if he can hold on to this lead for a few more laps. The second lap, identical speed for the Atlas Van Lines at 129.328 miles per hour. Coming up on the outside now, trying to threaten the Budweiser, it appears, is the Tosti Asti with Steve Reynolds. Remember, that's the old pay-and-back boat. It's the backup boat now for the Tosti Asti. I don't know if Kropfeld can see him coming up. There's the distance between first and second place, Bill. The Atlas Van Lines really moving along well. And there's the Tosti Asti moving up on the Budweiser. Steve Reynolds trying to sneak up on Jim Kropfeld. In the back of the pack is the Carl Yarlich with Jerry Hopp picking up some more valuable points. He's in his second straight final. The Atlas Van Lines rumbling around, about to pass Jerry Hopp in that older boat. The Budweiser in second place. And Steve Reynolds, the Tosti Asti in third place as he keeps sneaking up. Yes, you can see him behind the rooster tail of the Budweiser. Here comes the Atlas Van Lines now completing another lap. Here's the Budweiser. Look at the Tosti Asti coming on the outside. Steve Reynolds, that skid pin digging in as he comes around in lane number 2. The Budweiser inside. Kropfeld with a position trying to swing wide, I would imagine, as he comes down the main chute now. A great deck-to-deck race. The turbine against the Griffin here as well. Jim Kropfeld out of Cincinnati, Ohio, trying to keep Steve Reynolds on his outside hip. If he can finish in second place here in the final, as we said earlier, that would catapult the Budweiser into number 1 in the national point standings. They would surpass the Squire shop, which did not make the final. But there you see a straightaway lead for the Atlas Van Lines in the opposite corner of the Budweiser. Chip Hanauer never has won here at Madison, Indiana, but he has done it today. A brand new boat, a new style of power. Chip Hanauer, Jim Lucero, the Atlas Van Lines team, a winner in Madison, Indiana. Second place to the Budweiser, another 300 points, and the national point standings lead. Jim Cropfeld in the Budweiser. And third place, what a day for Steve Reynolds in the Tosti Asti. So at day's end, here's how they stand. The Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer getting their first victory in Madison. The Budweiser in second place. The Tosti Asti with their backup boat coming in number 3. Milner Irvin and the Renault, 4th place, and 5th place to the Miss Carl Yarling and driver, Jerry Hopp. We'll return with a visit with the victorious driver, co-owner, and team manager right after this timeout.
Down here in the winner's circle, there's Bedlam, but a happy driver, of course. First time victory in 1984. You put it all together, Chip. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a long dry spell this winter.
And now this guy right here, he put it all together for you, worked very hard, and I believe he's a successful boat builder, engine man, name it, Jim Lucero.
Thanks, Jim. I can't say enough about our crew. You know, the wings started to fall after the first heat. We had to change the rudder, make a bunch of other changes. We ran the same engine all day. I mean, what more can I say about the crew? They did a great job.
And your co-partner here's got to be very happy, Fran Muncie for the Muncie Racing Team. Fran?
Oh, I sure am. I'm so proud of Chip and so proud of Jim Lucero and his design and the crew. They just did a beautiful job.
There you have happy comments from a happy team, from owners, crews, and drivers. And maybe a new era. As the turbine has shown them, it can take them the short way around the course. Now, Don, back up to you to close it.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. And what a day it has been here for the Indiana Governor's Cup in Madison, Indiana. An absolutely dominating, thrilling performance by the new Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer, the driver. Our congratulations again to team manager, part owner, Jim Lucero, the designer and builder of the boat, and of course, Fran Muncie of Muncie Racing Industries. Next stop on the Unlimited Hydroplane Tour for 1984 is Detroit. We'll be there next week. For Jim Hendrick, I'm Don Poyer. Thanks for joining us, and so long.